Hey creative friends, welcome to my channel, and in this video I'm going to be making some buttermilk biscuits. I've been wanting to make biscuits for a long time, and I found this recipe on Taste of Home and I thought I'd give it a try because it looks super simple. There's only a half a cup of cold butter cubed and 3/4 cups of buttermilk. Now if you don't have buttermilk, there is a buttermilk powder that you can get and just mix it with regular milk. Gives you the same taste as buttermilk, but I've got some, so that's why I wanted to make buttermilk biscuits. And 2 cups of self-rising flour. Now, I did not have self-rising flour, and if you don't have self-rising flour, that's okay. I didn't think to show this to you, but you can turn regular flour, just all-purpose flour, into self-rising flour. All you have to do is for each cup of regular flour, all-purpose flour, you add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and mix it all up, and it becomes self-rising flour. So for this recipe, here I'm going to line you up so maybe you can see it a little better. It's super simple. I'm going to take this bowl, and people ask me all the time about these red measuring containers that I have. It's a whole set, 2 big bowls, pouring bowls, and they've got a little lip here that you can put on the edge of something and pour so that it doesn't spill. They've got some measurements inside. The only thing I don't like is that they're not colored, so you can't really tell them. It's got a nice handle. I like to put my hand there and tilt them. And they've got a great range of measuring cups. It was a set that I got years and years ago on QVC. So if you're curious about these, that's where I got them. I don't even remember how long ago it was, but I have used these like crazy. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the butter and I'm going to put it into the flour, and I'm going to cut it in. Now, if you don't have one of these little pastry cutters, you can just use a couple of knives and cut back and forth, or forks, and you're just going to kind of start grabbing these little pieces of butter. And I wonder if you can see it. I'm going to tilt you down a little bit so that you might be able to see a wee bit better. There we go. There we go. That's a little easier. So what I do is I take this cutter, and you kind of squish the butter through those little bars, and it breaks the butter up, and it forces the flour into it, and eventually it's going to become coarse like cornmeal. So you just want to keep working your butter until it's all done. And yes, some of it's going to pop out of there, but that's okay, because when you're done, you're going to need a lightly floured surface anyway. So it's kind of already getting your floured surface going. So I'm going to continue to mix this, and you can see how I'm just continuing to slide this through there. You can see the butter comes up through there, and as you push the flour, it all mixes in. So I'm going to keep doing that until it's the right consistency, and then I'll come back to you. All right, now you can see that I've worked that in to where it's just kind of crumbly. Let me tap off some of those little butter bits, and you can see how it's just kind of crumbly, and you can see little bits of butter, but not a lot of butter. So now what I'm going to do is take the 3/4 cups of buttermilk, and I'm going to pour it in there, and then I'm just going to mix this around until it's just blended, till the whole thing is just moistened and it kind of forms a little bit of a dough, because then I will put it out on the floured counter, and I will press it out to about 3/4, I think it says 3/4 of an inch thick, and then I'm going to cut it with my my little biscuit cutter. So let's just mix that until it's just moistened. There we go, that looks good. I'm kind of excited about these. I feel like they're going to turn out really well. My sister used to make the most amazing biscuits. Everybody talked about them. One of her friends came up with a partial recipe, but it wasn't the whole thing, so we kind of have to guess on it. It's kind of a bummer because they were amazing. So who knows? Maybe I'll be able to use her partial recipe and figure it out. All right, so this is all pretty blended, and I know that it'll be okay because I can reach in there and kind of pack them together and make a dough. It's so light and fluffy. I think these are going to be awesome. All right, so now I'm going to give this just a couple more stirs, and then I'm going to put some flour down, and I'll come back to you. Okay, I've floured my countertop, and I've got my little biscuit cutter out, and I've dipped it in the flour too, so that it's floured and it won't stick to the dough. And now I'm going to pull this dough out, and I'm just going to kind of work it together into a dough. You can see that I'm just kind of working it together into a solid. piece. And then, let me work this all in there together. All right. I think that's good. There we are. Little bits are still coming off of it, but I can work those in. So there's my dough. There's my other little bits that I'm going to work in. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of knead it a little bit, 3 or 4 times. Get those little pieces in there. Now I could use a rolling pin, or I could just press this out to about 3/4 inch thickness. And I think I'm just going to press it out. So I get some of this dough off my fingers. It's not really sticky. There's just a couple pieces where it's got butter and it'll stick to you a little bit. So now this should make about 8 biscuits. I'm going to press this out. This looks great. I think this is going to be really good. All right, now I have my little baking sheet. It says greased, but I like to use the little silicone mats. So there's 1, 2, and what I plan to do with these is to make them into a dinner. There's 4. And I'm going to use some home canned chicken and home canned chicken broth. And I'm going to make a gravy with vegetables, and I'm going to put them over the biscuits. And I realize it's just chicken and gravy over biscuits, but I'm going to call it upside down chicken dumplings, because these are like giant dumplings. So good. All right, now still have some buttermilk, so I think tomorrow I'm gonna make buttermilk pancakes for breakfast. That sounds good. All right. Ooh, there's 8. I think I can get 9. Now these are going to go into an oven of 425 for about 11 to 13 minutes until they're golden brown. I'm going to make this into a biscuit. And then I'm going to bring them out and put a little butter on them and then serve them warm. But I'm going to be making a little bit of a different thing with them, because I'm going to use them to put chicken and gravy and vegetables on. All right, so there's my biscuits. I'm going to put them in the oven at 425 for about 11 to 13 minutes. So I'll do 11. We'll check them, and then I'll come back when they're done. They're out of the oven and they look awesome. Look at those. They look so good. The one in the corner that I I pieced together, it doesn't look great, but they're all going to taste the same. And I hope that you watch my next video, because I actually made these for my next video, where I'm going to use a jar of ugly chicken, home canned, raw packed ugly chicken, and I'm going to use it with some home canned chicken broth that I made. And I'm actually going to make a gravy with vegetables in it to put over these biscuits, so they don't have to be pretty. I'll use these that aren't so pretty underneath those. It's kind of like upside down chicken and dumplings, kind of. But oh my gosh, these smell so good. There we go. I'm just going to take a little melted butter and cover the tops with them. And let me get my little spatula out so I can show you close up that these look. Oh, this is a nice one. Let's show you close up this one. Look at that. Look at the layers. Oh, it's so good. All right, so watch my next video and you're going to see how I use these to make a meal. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.